Again this morning I will take an excerpt from Onkar Satnam, the heartbeat of Nanak. Ek Onkar, the existential sound. Ek Onkar, the existential sound. What is its nature and how it came into existence, how the mystics came to know about it. Onkar is the only existential sound. It was in the beginning of the creation. It will be in the dissolution of the creation. Also it is now here. You will feel it within as the noise of the mind dissolves. Nanak says that which is cannot be given any name. All names are given by man. Onkar is the only name that is not given by anyone. It is the cause of the existence. Ram, Krishna, Allah are all the names given by different sects. The only name that is not created is Onkar. And why this name Onkar? Man is a constant chatterbox. Thoughts keep on floating on the inner sky. Constantly waves keep on appearing on the surface. When thoughts are no more, waves have subsided and merged in the ocean and we drown in innerness. Only then you can hear a mystical sound. This sound is uncreated. No one has created it. It is the sound of the existence. The sound of being. This is the echo of existence. Onkar is the way of existence. This name is not assigned by anyone. And Om is not a word. It is a sound, not only an ordinary sound. It is unique as well. Without any source, uncreated, this remains hidden in the existence itself. All sounds are created by friction. A musician vibrates the strings of his instrument and thus creates a sound. This sound is created because of the friction between the strings and the fingers of the musician. This is a created sound. The river flows. A sound arises through the flow. This is the sound created when water strikes the shore. You sit by the waterfall. There is a sound. Water falls on the rock. A sound is created. This is the sound of waterfall. Breeze blows and rustling it passes through the leaves. Rustling is the sound created between the breeze and the tree. Rustling is the sound created between the breeze and the tree leaves. We speak, singer sings. All such sounds are created because of duality. I am speaking. This is duality. When all duality vanishes, a sound continues to echo. This is the sound of Om. Remember, Om is not a word. Each language, be it Hindi, Sanskrit, Gurmukhi, Pali, or any other language, it has a special letter to represent this sound. And this letter is not the part of the script. Science says electricity is at the root of the entire existence. Science revolves around the trinity of electron, proton and neutron. Accordingly, if you go on dividing the entire existence to reach the solitary unit, then we obtain electricity or electric energy. The ultimate search of science is electron. Science says entire existence is composed of electricity. For the scientist, even sound is composed of electrical energy. And the root of everything is electrical energy. This is object. Science is outer journey which is based on object. The search of mystic is subject. Mystics have reached the very core of the existence by uniting the discordant elements that constitute the creation. By uniting the entire sense organs, mind attains to oneness. By uniting various individual minds, one attains to cosmic mind. The difference is very insignificant and yet still it is not. To science, existence is composed of electrical energy, and for the mystic, the entire existence is composed of sound energy. Science reached to this conclusion through an objective analysis, and mystic reached to this conclusion through a subjective analysis. To science, sound is a form of electricity, and to mystic, electrical energy is another form of sound energy. This difference is not so big. It is like two different persons with different levels of understanding and frame of mind are looking at the glass half full. One sees it as half full and the other sees it as half empty. The object is the same, one object. However, people with different frames of understanding are looking at the situation, and the outcome is two different conclusions. The search of science differs from that of the mystic. The way of science is that of dissection, and that of the mystic is unification. Mystic or the religion move from many to one, and when all discordant elements are united, oneness happens. In that oneness, meditation attains fruition as samadhi, and something echoes as the pulse of the cosmos. This echo is discovered both within and without. This echo is discovered both within and without. He finds this echo like the dissolving notes of an enchanting melody. Everything seems to be dissolving in that sound. Everything seems to be dissolving in that sound. Something like this has never happened before. Bemused, dazed, he finds no one creating this sound, yet still it is there. He knows not the sound. Suddenly something dawns. A realization happens. Awareness comes. He understands this sound is not created by any friction. Not a created sound. It is uncreated. This is called unheard nad. Nad means sound. Unheard, that which is unheard, yet still it is there. Nanak says, this is Onkar. This is the only authentic name of that which is. Nanak calls this Naam. Naam literally in English means name, identification. Name is needed to identify a person or object. Again and again Nanak uses this word name. Remember, whenever Nanak uses the word Naam, he refers to God or Creator or Rabb as he calls, and says that alone is true, that alone is existential. He says one who drowns in the remembrance of the Lord will certainly attain. Nanak is referring to this existential sound as a Onkar. This alone is Satnam. And these three words forms edifice of the Sikh refugee, the message of Nanak. Onkar Satnam. Each time Nanak uses this word, he refers Onkar. All other names cannot take you far. And even if any of these names take you anywhere along the journey, it is because each name finds resonance with Onkar. The sound. Try to understand this. When you chant Ram, 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 a stage comes in the process when the word disappears and the sound remains. The sound of letter M in Ram resonates with M sound is Onkar. Thus chanting Ram, the sound dissolves into the existential sound of Onkar. As you attain to silence, meditativeness happens. Ram transforms into Onkar, the existential sound. Such is the experience of all the mystics. One may begin with any name. Ultimately, everything dissolves in Onkar. As silence descends, Onkar is always. Only you need to attain to silence so that you can hear this existential sound. Nanak says, Onkar Satnam. The word Onkar has three sounds, A, U and L. The sound A resembles the last syllable of Brahma. This sound energy creates and evolves. The second sound energy, U, resembles with the last syllable in the word Vishnu. This is the energy that preserves and sustains. And lastly, the sound of the syllable M resonates with the sound M in Maheshwar. In this sound, the other two sounds dissolve to attain samadhi or oneness. Even a lifelong is not enough to understand the essence of this existential sound. And even one moment is enough for this experience. And even one moment is enough for this experience. Only the grace of Master is needed, says an Excerpt. I will take another sutra to explain further the sound of Onkar. This is Tibetan Sutra, the only country in the world which has devoted all its genius to the inner exploration is Tibet. Its findings are of tremendous value. Om Mani Padme Hum is one of the most beautiful expressions of the ultimate experience. Its meaning is the sound of silence. Om Mani Padme Hum means the sound of silence, the diamond and the lotus. Silence has its sound and music. The outer ears cannot hear, so too the outer eyes cannot see. We have 6 outer senses. In the past, man knew only 5 outer senses. The 6th is new discovery. It is inside your ears. As a result, people fail to recognize it. It is the essence of the balance. When you feel giddy and when you see a drunkard walking, it is the sense of balance that is affected. Just as these 6 senses are used to experience the outer, exactly the same 6 senses exist within to experience the inner, to see it, to hear it, to feel it. To feel its utter balance, its beauty. It is invisible to the outer eye, but not to the inner. You cannot touch it with your outer senses, but the inner senses are absolutely immersed in it. Om is the sound when everything else disappears from your being. No thoughts, no dreams, no projections, no expectations, not even a single rhythm. Your whole lake of consciousness is simply there, silent. It has become just a mirror. In those rare moments you hear the sound of silence. In those rare moments you hear the sound of silence. It is the most valuable experience because not only it shows the quality of the inner, not only it is the most valuable experience because not only it shows the quality of inner music, instead it shows that the inner being is harmony, joy and blissfulness. All this implied in the silent music of Om Mani says. You are not to see it. If you see it, you will miss the real thing. You have to hear it. You have to be utterly calm and calm. And then suddenly it is all around you, like a very subtle dance, or like a subtle melody, And the moment you are able to hear it, you have entered into the very secrets of the existence. You have become so subtle that now you deserve all mysteries to be revealed to you. Existence waits till you are ready. Matters not how long it has to wait. In the East, all the religions without exception agree on this point, that the sound which is heard in the pine, it is the highest peak of silence, something similar to Om, or what Nanak calls as Onkar. The word Om is not written alphabetically in any language of the East because it is not part of language. It is written as a symbol, and the same symbol is used in Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, Tibetan, Hindi, or Gurmukhi with slight variation in its writing style. All the mystics of all the ages have reached to the same experience, that it is not part of our mundane life. Hence, it should not be written in letters. It should have its own symbol, which is beyond language. And it is for this reason that the sound is beyond language. A special symbolism. It does not mean anything as far as mind is concerned, but it means tremendously much as far as your spiritual growth is concerned. It is not part of your language or grammar. It is concerned with your being. It does not mean anything as far as mind is concerned, but it means tremendously much as far as spiritual growth is concerned. It is not part of your language or grammar or mind. It is concerned with your being, your inner sanctum, and your spirituality. All music, particularly the classical music, has been trying to catch the sound of silence, so that even people who have not entered into their beings can experience something similar. But the similar can never be the same. It is a very far away echo. Even the greatest musicians has to use sound, but howsoever beautifully he arranges them, he cannot be absolutely silent. He gives gaps of silence in between. The whole play of music is between sound and silence. Those who do not understand hear the sounds, and those who understand hear the silence. As the gaps between two sounds, the real music is in the gaps. The silence is not created by the musicians. The musician is creating the sounds and leaving the gaps as a contrast, so that you can experience something of what happens to the mystic in his inner roots. Now the similar thing is happening here. I am creating the sound, and in between, when you are waiting to hear the next word, so that you can weave these words together to create meaning, there is a gap. There is a gap between these two sounds. And it is these gaps that give you the taste of your being. When suddenly I become silent, this is the way to connect to your being. You are at that moment in a state of no thought. The inner sky is totally empty. The musician, the mystic, is creating the sounds and leaving the gaps as contrast, so that you can experience something of what happens to the mystic is. Om is one of the great achievements of the seekers of truth. There have been cases which are absolutely unbelievable. However, these are historical. When Mapa, a Tibetan mystic, died, his closest disciples were sitting all around him because the death of a mystic as tremendously valuable as his life, and perhaps even more. If you can be close to the mystic when the consciousness is leaving the physical body, you can experience many things. If you can be close to the mystic when consciousness is leaving the physical body, you can experience many things. Because his whole consciousness is leaving the body, and if you are alert and conscious, you can feel a new fragrance, you can see a new light, you can hear a new music. However, we do not understand the mysteries of dissolution of consciousness into existence. However, we do not understand the mysteries of dissolution of consciousness into existence. We call this as death and lament when the consciousness is leaving the body. It is an occasion to rejoice. It is an occasion to be meditative. It is the occasion to infuse that energy within us. When Mapa died, he was living in a temple, and all his disciples became suddenly surprised. They were bemused. They looked all around to find from where the sound of Om is coming. And then finally they realized that it was not coming from anything. Instead, it was coming from Mapa, the body that was lying. They heard it by putting their ears to his feet, to his hands, and they could not believe. Inside his whole body, there was a vibration creating the sound of Om. He had been hearing this sound for his whole life, since he became enlightened. And the moment someone becomes enlightened, he begins to hear that sound very clearly. Continuously, each moment he hears that sound. And it is that sound, that silence, communicates to you in myriad ways. It is that sound, it is that unheard sound, that silence, that it communicates in myriad ways. Sometimes through silence, sometimes through the words, and then sometimes creating the balance between the sound and the silence. Because of his constant inner experience of sound, the sound has entered even into his physical sense. Every fiber of his body has learned a certain synchronism, the same wavelength, and the same is now being heard by all gathered around. I had the experience to witness such a patient several times when the masters were entering back into existence. It is indeed benediction. But it has been experienced by other mystics also. The inner starts radiating, particularly at the moment of death, when everything comes to a crescendo. But man is so blind and so utterly unintelligent. Knowing that mystics experience the music of silence within them and they call it Om. However, people start repeating the Om as a mantra, thinking that by repeating it, they will also be able to hear the pulse of the existence. By repeating it, you will never be able to hear it. Your mind is functioning when you are repeating it. But perhaps I am probably one of the few to tell you this. And for centuries people have been teaching you to repeat Om and the cognitive. This creates a false experience, and you can be lost in the false and you will never discover it. I emphasize, repeating will not help you at all. Simply be silent and try to listen to it. As your mind becomes calm and quiet, suddenly you will become aware. Like a whisper, the sound of Om is arising within your being. When it arises on its own, it has a totally different quality. It transforms you. Even modern physics says that everything in the world is composed of electrical energy. According to modern physics, even sound is nothing but electric waves. The physicists have been working from the outside and mystics says just the opposite. But I see no contradiction. They say the whole existence is made up of soundless sound Om, and even electricity or fire is nothing but a certain condensed form of sound. In the East, it has been known for centuries. There have been musicians who could create by their music a flame on an unlit candle. As the music falls over the unlit candle, suddenly the flame arises. It was a test in the ancient days that unless a musician could create light, fire or flame with his music, he was still amateur. He cannot be recognized as a master as yet. The explanations of the physics and the mystics look different, but perhaps there is some deeper source which can withdraw the contradiction and opposition. Perhaps it is only a different interpretation because the mystic is coming from the inside and the physicist is looking at the outside. What the physicist feels as electricity, mystic feels and knows as the pulse of the cosmos or music of the existence. They are both saying the same thing in different languages. And if there is a choice, I would choose the mystic because he is experiencing it in his very center. His experience is not just an experiment on objects. His experience is an experiment on his own consciousness. And consciousness is the very essence of existence. This mantra has many secrets in it. The first wordless word is Om, and the last is Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om is the first word or syllable, and whom is the last. Om is the flowering, and whom is the seed. Om is the flowering, and whom is the seed. The Sufis do not use the whole name of Allah. They use Allah who, and slowly they change Allah who into simply who, the sound of who means. And when you are creating this sound, it strikes your solar plexus, your center of life. They have found that the sound of who strikes exactly at the life source just below the navel. You were connected with your life, with your mother, from the navel to the umbilical cord. Just below the navel is the source of your own life. Just try. When you say who, the hit is below the navel. Who is the Sufi discovery and whom is Tibetan meaning. When you look at the effect of these two words, whom, it strikes you the center below the knee. Who seems to be a little harsh, probably it was needed. Whom on the other hand seems to be a little softer, but the softer will take a longer time to wake up your dormant energies. It is possible that in particular climate of Tibet, the softer may be perfectly good. They did not need such a harsh sound in order to hit the life force, but in the harsh desert of Arabia, Sufi mystics has to use a harsh sound of who is better than whom. In the colder heights of Tibet, whom is perfectly right for. Whom is the hit. Create the Om in you, to create existential sound in you. If you hit the seed of your life, it starts disappearing in the soil, the sprouts starts growing. First the seed has to be destroyed. Only then the process of fruition begins. So whom is the hit? This is why I said the first word sound, Om, is the flowering, and whom is the seed. This seed is the hit to create the Om in you. If you hit the seed of your life, it starts disappearing in the soil and green leaves, sprouts starts growing. Between these two, Om and Hum is Mani Padme, Tibetan Sutra. I do not think anybody has been able to express the ultimate experience, the ultimate beauty, better than Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme Hum. If you visualize it, the lotus flower in the east is most beautiful. It is considered as the mystical flower. And if you put diamonds on the lotus flower in the early morning sun, you will have a tremendously beautiful experience. Tremendously beautiful experience. The lotus flower with diamonds. It is very difficult to say anything about the ultimate experience. However, Tibetan mystics have tried their best. Many things have been said about it, but diamond in the lotus seems to be the best expression. It is the most beautiful experience, and they have chosen two most beautiful things of the ordinary world, the lotus and the diamond. It is just a visual experience of the beauty that you come to see within yourself. This sutra, Om Mani Padme Hum, has the whole philosophy within its womb. Start with Hum, the last word, and the final will arise on its own accord. And when your inner life is filled with the sound of silence, start with Hum, the last word, and the first will arise on its own accord. And when your inner being is filled with the sound of silence, you will also have the beautiful experience of seeing. And when your inner being is filled with the sound of silence, you will also have the beautiful experience of seeing a lotus with a diamond in the early morning sun. The diamond is radiating. The lotus is so soft, so feminine, and so delicate. It has no comparison and any other flower. The lotus is so soft, so feminine, and so delicate. It has no comparison in any other flower. It became so important to the mystics. You must have seen Gautam Buddha's statue sitting on a lotus. They are showing symbolically that he has reached the ultimate. His inner lotus has flower. And not only the lotus has flower, the diamonds hidden behind it, inside it, and it opens its petals. You find a Kohinoor, the most precious diamond. The diamond has a quality. That is why it has been chosen. It is symbolic of eternity. The diamond is forever. It knows no death, it is eternal. The experience is beautiful and eternal. But unfortunately, Tibet has fallen into darkness. Its monasteries have been closed. Its seekers of truth have been forced to work in labor camps. The only country in the world which was working a one-pointed genius, all its intelligence in the search of one's own interiority and its treasures, have been forced to stop by the communist invasion of Tibet. Nowhere has such concentrated efforts have been made to discover man's being. Every family in Tibet used to give their eldest son to some monastery where he was to meditate and grow closer to awakening. It was a joy to every family that at least one of them was wholeheartedly, 24 hours a day, working on the inner being. They were also working, but they could not devote their entire time. They had to create food and clothes and shelter, and in Tibet it is difficult matter. The climate is not very helpful. To live in Tibet is a tremendous struggle, but still every family used to give their firstborn child to the monastery. There were hundreds of monasteries. None of these monasteries can be compared to any Catholic monasteries. These monasteries has no comparison in the whole world. These monasteries were concerned with only one thing, to make you aware of your sin. Thousands of devices have been created down the centuries so that the lotus can blossom and you can find your ultimate treasure, the diamond. These are just symbolic words. However, the destruction of Tibet should be known in the history, particularly when man becomes a little more aware and humanity a little more mundane. Meditation gives them a feeling of immortality. Hence, their fear will disappear. Meditation not only gives them the experience of their own immortality, instead it also gives them the experience that everybody is immortal. Death is a fiction. They will be living and you cannot kill them. Not even your nuclear weapons are going to kill them. This is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, the message of Krishna, that life is eternal. Body can be destroyed, mind can be destroyed, but not the evil. That which is eternal, that which is Onkar Satnam. And the beautiful sutra says that. And it is ironical that in all the courthouses in India, you have gone for a murder trial or something, you have to put your hand onto the Bhagavad Gita and take the pledge that you will speak the truth and stand for the trial of the murder, as it is envisaged in the court of the law. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavka, na chainam kledayanti apu, na shoshiyati maru. Nainam chindanti shastrani, the weapons can cleave it not. Nainam dahati pavka, pavak means fire. Fire cannot burn. Water cannot moisten it, and associati maruta, and neither wind can dry it. It's beyond. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavaka. No weapon can destroy, neither me nor any fire can burn you. Yes, indeed, the body will be burned. The mind will dissolve into the cosmic mind. However, I am not the body. Meditation gives you this feeling. For the first time, meditation gives you this feeling. This is your authentic reality. This is existential. This is the pulse. This is me. This is all. This is Onkar. This is the existential oneness that Nanak calls Onkar. And its nature is Satnam. It is eternal. It is existential. Beyond all that is known. Onkar Satnam.